Chicos, buenas tardes. Vamos a comenzar nuestra clase número 39. Let's start our class number 39. This is today's class and Thursday class will be the last two classes for this entire course. So this week, we basically finish this course. I mean, in terms of the classes, right? Next week will be Easter break, so you don't have classes. And the other week, we are talking about the 22nd and the 24th of April. We will have test number 4, which is the last test for this entire course. I send you 1 million messages, reminders via email, on WhatsApp, here, there, over there. So you to make all the necessary arrangements, especially those who work and have problems with attending classes. I mean classes with the classes and work and so. Because it's really important you to attend the 22nd written exam and the 24th oral exam. I'm speaking out of my head, so if I am making any mistake with the dates and somebody realize it, please correct me. But let me see. Yeah. Yeah, the 22nd, which is a Tuesday, will be the written exam, and the 24th, which is a Thursday, will be the oral exam. So try your best to attend. I will always uh, give you, especially for the written exam, for those who couldn't attend and message me privately. Probably I will give you another opportunity, as I always do. But I do have deadlines for submitting these grades because these are the last grades of the entire course, and I do have deadlines, and I cannot break those deadlines. I cannot have problems with my superiors, so I cannot wait forever for students to do their exams and me waiting for submit the grades, and then I have a problem, and everything is a problem. So contribute for me not to have a problem, and I can submit the grades online, and not online, on time, and online too. Anyhow, no more taki-taki, as we say in Spanish, and let's start this class. Today, we are going to revise the vocabulary and the grammar, vocabulary and grammar corresponding to Unit 9, the last unit of the course. Next Thursday, we will revise or we will practice the oral expression corresponding to the same last Unit 9. So, for the written exam, you can watch the recording to video class number 35 and the recording to this class number 39. So with these two recordings, you will have all the content that you need for the written exam. And for the oral exam, you can watch video class 36. I mean the recording to the video class number 36. Well, and the recording to the next class, which is going to be class 40. And in those two classes, you will have all the questions that you need for the oral exam. So write down that. Recordings that I can watch to revise for this last exam. Written exam, 35 and 39. Recordings number 35 and 39. The links are on Moodle. And for the oral exam, recordings number 36 and 40. Well, we haven't had class 40 yet, but by the time that you're ready to study for the exam, of course, class number 40 will be next class. So that was all the taki-taki for today. Let me start with the actual class. So what was the vocabulary that... Well, one second, let me go to the group quickly because I'm seeing... Okay, let me see the chat first. Okay, Billions, Zach, if I am recording, I am recording, right? Yes, I am recording. I am recording this class. Let me see now the WhatsApp group. Yes, we are going to have classes at 6. It's going to be the same class. I always have the same class from 4 to 6 with group 11 and from 6 to 8 with group 7. So yes, today we will have why because you are on a riot and we are gonna cancel group 7 classes or what? I didn't know that. Yeah, we have classes at 7. And not at 7, at 6 with group 7. Okay. What was the vocabulary that we studied in unit 9? Well, the vocabulary was basically related to the way you live. House, part of the house, furniture, appliances, the neighborhood, and this fancy word here, or words, quehaceres domésticos. Well, you can figure out that domésticos is domestic, related to your home. But quehaceres. Quehaceres is household chores, guys. The chores that you do, like cleaning the house, cooking, sweeping the floor, loaning, and so everything that you do at home to have a nice, uh, clean house and to have a delicious food and well all the chores, all the household chores. How we say in Spanish? Quehaceres. 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 Los quehaceres domésticos. Okay? So casa means house. Vecindario means neighborhood. La casa y el vecindario, the house and the neighborhood. And los quehaceres domésticos, the household chores. Okay? That was all the vocabulary that we studied in Unit 9. Let's start with la casa y el vecindario, the house and the neighborhood. Well, guys, I will say what I always tell you. See here, class number 37. In this video class, video class number 37 that you were supposed to watch last week, uh, I I told you the meaning of all these words. So you watch class number 37. You know the meaning of all these words related to la casa. So let me pronounce quickly these words or some of these words: el armario, el espejo, el estante, el fregadero, el horno. So also, let me go back 2 slides before, pages 234 and 235. You have the meaning of all those words. I mean the meaning of these words in English, and also class number 37. So I will not repeat class number 37 here, because if I have to repeat that, what was the point to prepare class number 37? So in class number 37, you can see the meaning of all these words that you have to know for this test number 4. And I really took my time. I really took my time, guys, to prepare class number 37. I even do it in a friend's. I didn't want to do it in my own house, and I asked a friend to lend me his house for prepare this video. And I took my time, and I mean that was a lot of work. So I do recommend you, if you haven't watched class number 37, and I really hope that you have watched that class. But if you haven't watched, please watch it. I mean, that will be me in my friend's house explaining all the parts of the house, and on top of the I pronounce for example, I am in the kitchen, and I point to all the parts of the kitchen, and I put the words on top. I pronounce it slowly, so that was like 2-3 days doing that. So I recommend you watch that class, because I mean you wouldn't have any problem to remember the parts of the house after you watch that class. It's gonna be far better than just go to to our textbook, pages 234, 235, and try to memorize the meaning. Now, watch that class. I mean, I take my time to prepare those classes, and I do it in a way that, I mean, I do expect these classes are really useful for you. Anyhow, el vecindario. So there is another list of words that you can learn easily if you watch video class number 37 with some words relating to el vecindario, the neighborhood. And in terms of los quehaceres domésticos, eh, we talk about that in class number 38. Let me mention quickly some of those. Apagar. Let me tell you the translation of all these quehaceres domésticos and let me tell you how to pronounce it because it's just a few. Only these that you can see here. Apagar la luz. Turn off the light. Apagar la luz. Barrer. That's what you do with a broom. Sweep. Barrer. Barrer. Cortar el césped. To cut the grass. Or mow the lawn. Like cut the grass in your yard. Encender la luz. Well, encender and apagar are opposite words. Apagar is turn off. Encender is turn on. So, encender la luz, turn on the light. Apagar la luz, turn off the light. Limpiar el piso, clean the floor. Limpiar el piso. Preparar la cena, prepare dinner. Preparar la cena. Regar, regar las plantas. Water the plants. Dar de comer means feed. Dar de comer al gato, feed the cat. Dar de comer al perro, feed the dog. Dar de comer, feed. Desempolvar, dust. Lavar los platos, do the dishes. Lavar los platos. Pasar la aspiradora, vacuum. Planchar, iron o press. Secar la ropa, dry the clothes. And tender las camas, perdón, tender las camas, do the bed. So these are the main quehaceres domésticos. There are many more, but I want to believe that this is, well, we don't have there cocinar, but you know that verb already, cook, cocinar. So guys, again, in this unit 9, all the vocabulary was related to our house. La casa, the house itself, parts of the house, appliances, etc. El vecindario, the neighborhood. And los quehaceres domésticos, the household chores. In the next class, that's going to be on Thursday, when we practice the oral expression, we are going to practice a little bit how to talk about all this, like what is your favorite room in the house, what is a favorite activity in your house. I mean, what you prefer to do in your house, you prefer to sleep, you prefer to cook, what you prefer to do, who does the household chores in your house. And we are going to practice how to talk about this. So we will practice all the questions related to this, but that's going to be for the next class. In this next Thursday, in the next 2 days. Today, we are simply revising all the vocabulary, all the words that we need to know, that we need to learn, that we need to memorize for this unit 9. Remember that when you are learning a foreign language is like building a house. You need many things, but one essential thing is like the bricks of the hollow blocks. So you put them together, you paste them with cement. But if you don't have the hollow blocks or the bricks, you cannot make the house. So having the hollow blocks or having the bricks doesn't mean that you have the house already. You need many more things. You need to put them together. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to do the foundation, etc. But we all agree that if we don't have the bricks, we will definitely we will not have the house. So the words or the vocabulary are the bricks when you are learning a language. Learning the words doesn't guarantee that you will speak the language, but not learning the words, well, so if you don't learn the words, it's like you are gonna build a house and you don't have bricks. So how you are gonna, or you don't have wood, or you don't have hollow blocks? How you are gonna build the house? So you need the materials, right? So the words is like the bricks of a language. So any question, guys, about all these vocabulary related to house, neighborhood, or household chores before I move to grammar? So I've told you many times. Well, this is going to be the last class for vocabulary and grammar. So if you didn't learn it by now, you will never learn it. Uh, but I told you since the beginning that the YouTube video classes. I mean, you have to watch the YouTube video classes. Those are the actual lectures, and it's myself um, giving that lecture. The thing is that I record the lectures and I put them for you to watch it at any time. So you don't have to be tied um, with a certain day, a certain time. So you can watch the video classes at any time you want. That's the reason why I record them and I put them on YouTube for you to watch them at any time. But that doesn't mean that you can make it without watching the video classes. So these Zoom classes are for practicing what you learn in the video classes. You don't watch the video classes, these Zoom classes are not going to be useful for you. Or you will take just a little bit, I mean, from these Zoom classes. So again, guys, any questions about the vocabulary related to la casa y el vecindario o los quehaceres domésticos before I move to the grammar?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, let's move to grammar. What was the grammar that we studied in this unit 9? Well, the last piece of grammar that we studied in this course was los comparativos y el superlativo, the comparative and the superlative, how to say that something is, I don't know, that somebody is as tall as somebody else, or somebody is the tallest in the house. Or your house is the most expensive house in the neighborhood. So how to make comparisons. Also, we studied two verbs, the last two verbs, verbs that means in Spanish to know, but we have two different verbs, conocer and saber. It's like the verb to be, that you have the verb to be, but we have two different verbs, ser and estar. Well, happens the same with these two verbs. Conocer and saber. Both means to know, but are used differently in Spanish. Let's see the difference between those two verbs. And we studied, so far we could speak in present and future only because we haven't studied the past. Well, now finally, in this last unit, we studied the simple past, how to conjugate Spanish verbs in simple past. Don't bother about that stupid word, pretérito. Pretérito just means simple past. That is how we say it in Spanish, pretérito. Eh, If you translate that word into English, yeah, you can translate it. You can say preterite, but that wouldn't tell you anything because in English you would never say preterite. You would say simple past. Well, pretérito is simple past. So how to conjugate Spanish verbs in simple past? Okay. So let's start with the comparativos y el superlativo. Comparative and superlative. Okay. We have a car and we have a computer, right? We have a car and we have a computer. This is where I would need the blackboard. So we have a car and we have a computer. Which one is more expensive? Well, that's subjective, but usually a car is more expensive than a computer, right? Don't tell me about that computer that some cousin of yours use and cost your cousin $3 million. So we don't care about that computer. We care about a normal, like $500 laptop, something like that, and a two, three, $4 million car. So usually a car is more expensive than a computer. I think that we'll agree of that. And we are using an adjective here, expensive, expensive. So how to compare the computer and the car in terms of, I don't know if this word exists in English, but let me make up something. Expensiveness. Obviously, a car costs more money than a computer. And in simple plain English, we would say, anybody would say, the car is more expensive than a computer. That was English. So how to say that in Spanish? Exactly like that, but using the Spanish words. Uh, I will definitely need a blackboard. Okay. Mhm, mhm. Okay. We have a carro, which is a car. We have a computadora, which is a computer. And we have the adjective caro. And see that, oh my God, this is a poor example because carro, caro are two different things. Carro eh, is car with that strong R that you don't bother about pronouncing it. Carro, ro, ro. But now we have caro, caro. See, I don't know if you can notice a difference, but carro, car, caro, expensive. No, no, I was going to use another adjective, but we can make it with this. So let's compare the carro and the computadora in terms of expensive. The car is more expensive than the computer, right? In Spanish, el carro es más caro que la computadora. ¿Sí? Ma More expensive than, right? More expensive than. English. Spanish, más caro que. What's the Spanish word for more? Más. What's the Spanish word for than? Que. And what's the Spanish word for expensive? Caro. Now, stupid example. I want to say that the car is uglier. No. Hermoso. Beautiful. Hermoso means beautiful. And I want to say that the car is more beautiful than the PC. So what's going to change here? Who can tell me? What would change in the Spanish sentence to mean that the car is more beautiful than the computer? I put PC to write less. Come on, come on. What's a word that changed in Spanish, guys, to say that the car is more beautiful than the PC? How you say beautiful in Spanish? Look, I put it just. Oh,
Hermoso.
good. So, hermoso instead of what?
Caro.
Good. Instead of caro, I put hermoso. And now, El carro es más hermoso que la computadora. ¿Ok? El carro es más hermoso que la computadora. But something happens in English. Even I mean, in Creolese, we say more for everything. More beautiful than, more expensive than, more ugly than, more big than, more tall than. But in standard English, you know that we don't say more tall than. We say taller than, bigger than, uglier than. But in Creolese, we say more ugly than, more tall than. Anyhow, so don't bother about Creolese now. Let's talk about standard English. Um, I think that Shane is pretty tall. But we have this other student, I don't know. I think Karim is tall too, but let's say that Karim is a little bit shorter than Shane. I mean, this is just an example for the class, guys. And you guys are the two persons who are right below me. I mean, in my screen. So Shane and Karim. And let's see who is taller than the other one. So we agree, true or not, that Shane is taller than Karim. In English, you say Shane is tall and you add ER than Karim, right? So when the adjective is short, you don't say more tall than. Instead of more, you add ER to the adjective. Not in Creolese though. In Creolese, you say more tall. But well, in standard English, supposed to be taller than. So what happened in this case in Spanish? Oh, Spanish is like Creolese. Why Spanish is like Creolese? Guys, because in Spanish, everything is more this than. In Spanish, it's just like in Creolese. So if tall is what again? Tall is what?
Alto.
Alto. How I can say, based on what I just said, that Shane is taller than Karim? In Spanish, we would say Shane is more tall than Karim. Go ahead. I'm hearing you. Shane is more
Más alto
than. What is than?
que
Que
Karim.
Karim. Good. Simple as ABC. Shane is más alto que. Here is, I mean, for a change, this structure is easier in Spanish than in standard English. Because in English, when I learn English, I say, oh, more expensive than, more beautiful than, more this than. And then I say, oh, more ugly than. Then my English teacher, no, it's not more ugly than, it's uglier than. Why? No, because it's short. I guess that is short. That's English. So you have to accept it just like that. So that was what my English teacher told me when we were studying, when I was studying this. But now I tell you the opposite in Spanish. In Spanish, we have only one way to say more expensive than or taller than. In Spanish, it's always más, the adjective, and then than. So it's like we always say in Spanish, more than. So Shane es más alto que Karim. How can I say now? How do we say short again? Short. Come on, class number one. Short. Oh God.
Bajo.
Bajo. How I can say? Um, Karim is shorter than Shane. So help me to say this in Spanish. Remember that in Spanish is more short than. Go ahead, guys. There are
Kar-
14
mm.
students in this. I was about to say, yeah, Shane, go ahead.
Karim es más bajo que,
And let me put this in capital letters. Más bajo what?
que Shen. ¿No?
Perfecto.
Ujú.
Karim es más bajo que. And this is what you have to memorize. This is what you have to remember, guys. More something than. In Spanish, it's always more something than. Más bajo que, más alto que, and so on. But let's do it with two girls. So let me see who is the closest girl. Kalia. Well, I don't have a clue who is taller, who is short, but anyways. So, Kalia, ¿tú eres alta o baja?
Baja.
Baja. Oh. Do I have any tall girl here in this class? Beyoncé, are you alta or baja? Sayoida, Alisa, none of you are tall? Anyways, let's assume that Beyoncé is tall. So just for the class, just for this sentence. Eh, and baja. So how can I say Kalia is shorter than Beyoncé? Which in Spanish would be Kalia is more short than Beyoncé. Oh, Beyoncé, you are anyway, for the class you are told now. Exactly, Rachel, exactly. So Rachel already told me in the chat, but I would like somebody tell me out loud how can I say Kalia is shorter than Beyoncé, which in Spanish again is Kalia is more short than. Am I alone in this class?
Kalia is más baja
How can I say than, Shane? Than,
que
¿qué? Bien.
Beyoncé.
Muy bien, muy bien. Más baja que. And you have to remember, muy bien, Shane, muy bien. You have to remember, guys, that in Spanish is always when something or somebody is more something than another thing or another person, más the adjective and then que. Que, sorry, más means more. Que means than. More than. Más que. And the adjective in between. Now, question. Why I am using here baja, but I was using alto or bajo when I was talking about the boys? What I'm using baja here? Why I don't say that Kalia is bajo?
Sir, because it's a female.
Correcto, because Kalia is a female. Well, that basically that's it. This is to compare two persons or two objects when one is more than the other. But what about when I want to say, we don't use this too much in English, but you can say it. You can say that Beyoncé is less tall than Kalia. Well, more is más. And less is menos. So how can I say Beyonce is less tall than Kalia? This sounds a little bit weird because usually we say the other way around, more than, but we have to learn this one too because we use it a lot in Spanish. We use it more than in English. So Beyonce is less tall than Kalia.
Beyoncé es menos alta que Kalia.
Perfecto. Beyoncé es, let me put it in capital letters, menos alta que Kalia. ¿Sí? Menos alta que. Menos alta que. More is más. Less is menos. So when I clear these drawings here, and you can see this light, let me maximize it, let me put it bigger, or whatever you say. See? Más que, more than. And whatever you are using to compare in between. The adjective, the noun, the adverb. But if you're going to say less than, then menos que. It's always que, because que is than. So you only have to change más, more, or menos, less. See these two examples right here below. Un coche, coche and car is the same. In Spain, they say coche. Here in Latin America, we say carro. Same thing. Un coche es, a car is, más caro que, more expensive than, una computadora, a computer. María is menos alta que, less tall than, Eduardo. So, and here, look this. I have a female, Maria. I have a male, Eduardo. But why here I use a female? Because I'm saying that María es más alta. I'm talking about María. María is taller than whoever. So doesn't matter than a man or than a woman. The important thing is that the subject is Maria. Maria is taller, less tall than. So for that reason, you have to say alta because I'm comparing Maria to somebody else and I don't care to whom. That whom can be a male, that whom can be a female. The important thing is that I am talking about Maria. That alta refers to Maria. María es alta. María is tall. So cannot be María es menos alto. Because Eduardo is a male. He's who? We don't care about Eduardo. So we are talking about Maria. We are comparing Maria to we don't care whom, right? That's why it has to be alta. So, well, I think that was pretty clear, but still you have any questions, go ahead. Any question about how to compare two things when one is more than the other or one is less than the other? Do you have any question, guys? Okay.
No, sir.
Wait, because you are suspiciously quiet today and I don't like that. So let me see. Kalia, Karim, Mahindra, Rachel, Omalia, David, Shane. David, you are here. Shane, Zach, Beyonce, Alisa, Dimitri, Seyoida, Sequoia, Narindio. Any of you have any question about this? How to compare two things or two persons in not Spanish? I was going to say I need coffee. Okay. No, sí, no, sí.
No.
Mm. So you say, okay. Well, but what if Kalia and Beyonce are same short? What if Shane and Karim are same tall? So how do I say that in Spanish? In English, yeah, no problem, no problem. Yeah, I understand. Two, two other students had told me the same, so I understand. What I was to say? Oh yeah, I feel like I'm alone. Anyways, so Shane is as tall as Karim. Kalia is as short as Beyonce, right? How can I say that in Spanish? Well, this as in Spanish is tan, co tan como. Tan como. Tan is the first as, and como is the second as. So, Shane is, right? So, how I say this in Spanish? This as.
Shane es tan alto como Karim.
Oh my God, wait. Oh my Lord. Muy bien, muy bien. Tan alto como Karim. Muy bien, chicos. So in English, you would use as, as, I mean, as tall as short as ugly as fat as strong as slim as expensive as cheap as. So as. But in Spanish, we would use tan como. The first as in Spanish is tan, and the second English as in Spanish is como. So, tan como, tan como. So, let's compare the girls now. I want to say that Kalia is as short as Beyonce. Can you please help me to say that in Spanish? Well, Kalia is Kalia. I mean, in English and in Spanish. Is. Go ahead with the rest, guys. As short as.
Tan bajo.
Small correction. Bajo.
Baja. Sorry.
Baja. Tan baja
Como.
como Beyoncé. Muy bien. Kalia es tan baja como. Tan baja como. Um, mm, I don't know. Mahindra and Rachel. I want to say that Mahindra is as smart as Rachel. Smart as inteligente. Inteligente. How do I say Mahindra is as smart as Rachel?
Mahendra es
Ujú.
inteligente.
Eh,
Tan
eh,
inteligente.
tan inteligente. Inteligente. And the second as is
Como.
como
Rachel.
Rachel. Muy bien. Mahindra es tan inteligente como Rachel. Mhm. And see, for comparing two things that are same smart, same pretty, same ugly, same expensive, same cheap, same tall, same short than the other, in Spanish we use tan o tan, no, eh, eh, te digo después, te digo una hora. So, tan como. Okay, guys? Tan como. This is, I was comparing before two things. One was more or less than the other. But now we are comparing two things, and the two things are same short, same tall, same intelligent, same smart, same pretty, same beautiful, same expensive, same whatever. Okay? I mean, two things or can be persons too. Any two nouns. Okay. This is a little bit harder, so let me take my time to explain this. I want to say that this is not true at all. My house is the most expensive in the city. I want to say that in Spanish. Mi casa es la más cara de la ciudad. So, my house is, mi casa es. I want to believe that I don't need to explain that, right? That's straightforward. Mi casa, my house is, mi casa es. The question. Why I translate this the for la? Because the can be el, like el teléfono, the telephone. The can be la, like if I say la casa, the house. But can be los, if I say, for example, the dogs, los perros. O can be las, if I say, for example, the girls, las chicas. So the can be el, la, los, las. So, and this is my question. Well, probably my question shouldn't be why. My question shouldn't be, can you see why I translate this the for la, or you can see it? This there refers to what? Refers to house. House is casa. Casa is feminine or masculine? It's a question. Casa ending in A is feminine or masculine?
Feminine.
Feminine. So I say la casa. That's the reason why that I have to translate this the for la, because I'm talking about the house. If I were saying, for example, my son, mi hijo would be la or él. He's a boy. Which one for mi hijo? El, la, los o las? El, la, los or las?
L.
We,
Just
es.
E is
Here, if I were talking about mi hijo, would be él because it's masculine. So I translate this the according to the gender of this noun before. Again, if I'm talking about my house, mi casa, my house is the, mi casa es la. So you have any question up to here?
No, sir.
Sure. Okay. My house is, I don't think that you have any question about that. My house is, mi casa es. That's direct translation. Mi house casa is es. Now, this de correspond to house. So if it's casa, has to be la because casa is feminine. Now, I had told you, let's continue with a sentence in English, with the English sentence. I had told you that in Spanish, more is más. Remember, Shane is taller than Karim. Shane is más MAS, más alto que. Well, más is also most. Yeah, más means more, but más means most also. Means both things. So you don't have to learn two different words. You have to learn only one word in Spanish. Más. And más means also plus. Like uno más uno es dos. One plus one is two. Right? So más means more. Más, MAS, means most. And you knew already that más means plus. So are you following me so far up to here? Mi casa es la más. My house is the most.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we have to translate expensive. I don't have any way to explain this. I mean, the only thing that I can say expensive is cara. Question. Why cara and not caro? Because cara refers to what? What is cara? Or what is expensive?
Casa, the house.
The house, which is feminine. That's why I have to be feminine. If I were saying mi teléfono, my cell phone, which is masculine, I would be saying caro here because I would be talking about my phone. Let's do an example just now with something masculine. But so far, we are talking about something feminine. In the city, de la ciudad. Well, you say in the city in Spanish, but in English, but in Spanish we say of the city. See, in Spanish we don't say in the city, we say of the city. And de is of, like soy de Cuba, I am from Cuba. So of means from, of. Or let me put it in an easier way. We say from the city. From the city. My house is the most expensive from the city. De is from. Soy de Cuba. I am from Cuba. So there are quite a few things that you have to consider. And let's do another example here. Let me think of a simpler example. Okay. This is not going to be a nice sentence, right? Uh, a name. A name. Any random name. Roberto. Roberto. Oh my God, I don't like this sentence. No, wait. This is a little bit nicer. Oh my God, I will need something shorter. Tom. Yeah, Tom. I want that everything fits in a line. Okay, so let's translate step by step this sentence into Spanish. Tom, any random boy, is the most intelligent in the class. Help. How can I say Tom in Spanish? Tom is. Come on.
S.
Es. Now, this de refers to Tom. So, él, la, los o las.
L.
Él. I cannot say la because he's not a gal. He's a boy. So, it's not la. Like Mahindra ya said, is él. Okay? Tom es él. How can I say most in Spanish?
Más.
But más was not more? Más is not more?
It's more and most.
Good. Now, intelligent? Well, inteligente. Good. In the class. Remember that we don't say in the class. We say from the class. What? How is that in Spanish? From the class. We don't say
Yeah.
in. See? See? In the class, how you say that in Spanish?
De la clase.
De la clase, claro. Oh, sorry. De la clase. That's it. Period. Tom es el más inteligente de la clase. Tom es el más inteligente de la clase. So any question about this, guys? Well, before you have questions, tallest. Tallest. And tall is alto, right? How do you think that we would say the tallest in the class? Considering that in Spanish, like we don't say taller than, we say more tall than. Same thing, we don't say tallest. The tallest. We say the most tall. The most tall. So Tom is the tallest, but actually we say Tom is the most tall from the class. El más what? What is
Alto.
tall?
Alto.
Good. Instead of inteligente, alto. In Spanish, it's easier, guys. You don't have to study. Is EST or is most? No. In Spanish, it's always más something de. Tom es el más alto de la clase. And I want to change this sentence a little bit saying that let me see. Rachel is the tallest girl, is the tallest in the class. Rachel is. Come on, let's do it step by step, word by word.
S.
Es.
S.
De. Look, what's careful here. El or well, cannot be los or las because it's
La.
only one girl. La, sure, is not el.
No, sir, because she's not a boy.
Good, she's not a boy. She's a girl. Rachel es la. So more tall. What I say tall, right? More tall than. More tall from. Yeah, that's how we say it in Spanish. We say the most tall.
Más alto. Alto.
Alto,
Alta.
alta. Now, in the class, but we say from the class.
De la clase.
De la clase. Good. Now, my cat, which is a male, remember that in Spanish, everything is male or female. This cat is a male, gato. Is my cat is the prettiest in the house. This is how I spell prettiest, by the way. P-R-I-T-T-Y. I change the Y to. Is it well? Is it? Did I spell correctly? Prettiest? Hello, English speakers. Do I spell it
Yeah.
correctly?
No,
Yeah.
sir.
So it's what? P-R?
P-R-E-T-T-I, yes.
P-R-I.
P-R-E.
Oh, oh. Yeah, it's P-R-E. Anyways, my cat is the prettiest in the house.
Mi gato es el más lindo de la casa.
Mi gato es, and my cat is a male, so el más lindo de la casa. ¿Sí? Mi gato es el más lindo de, the prettiest in. Well, actually, we say, if you translate word for word, the most pretty from. I say it slowly because it sounds weird if I translate it. And I'm accustomed to say it like that in Spanish, but when I translate it from Spanish to English, okay. So, any question about this way to compare to persons to objects?
No, señor.
Well, I hope you don't. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Eh, let's talk about these two verbs, the last two verbs we are going to talk about in this course, conocer and saber. Both verbs means to know in English. But when I use conocer and when I use saber, conocer versus saber, both means to know. But when I say that I know persons or I know places, I use conocer. However, when I say that I know a piece of information, a gossip, a fact, then I use saber. Conozco a Adriana. I know Adriana. Adriana is a person. So I cannot say sé a Adriana. So I cannot use the verb saber when I mean that I know a person. Conozco a Mahindra. Conozco a Rachel. Conozco a Sayoida. Conozco a Sequoia. Conozco a Shane. Conozco a David. Conozco a Kalia. Conozco a Beyoncé, etc. And if somebody asks you, do you know Sir Juan? And you are speaking Spanish, you will say, sí, sí, conozco al señor Juan. Conozco a. You will use the verb conocer. Now, if I ask you, do you know Havana? You will say, conozco la Habana. Do you know Linden? Sí, conozco Linden. Well, in my case, I would say no. No conozco Linden. I've never been in Linden. I mean, there are many places in Guyana that everything I do is work, work, work. I don't have time to travel, not even in Guyana. I travel more overseas than in the same Guyana. That's shameful, but anyhow, one day I will go to Linden in Lethem. These are two cities that or two towns that I really want to know because I have many friends there in both. So no conozco Lethem. What I am saying in English? No conozco Lethem. Three words. No conozco Lethem. What I'm saying there?
I don't know Latin.
I don't know Lethem. So I've never been there. Um, Kalia, tell me now. Sarah, you know what? I have a good friend at UG. She's studying economics. She name it. I mean, Kalia would never say she name is. Her name is Andrea. Do you know she? Do you know her? No, Kalia. No, lo siento. No conozco a Andrea. But what I'm saying conozco because Andrea is a person. And I use the verb conocer when I mean to know people or places. Now, somebody asked me, sir, do you know that we are gonna get $1 million next month? I mean, all Guyanese. Do you know that fact? Oh, in that case, I would say, sí, sé, sé, it comes from saber. Oh my God, this is not true. Don't say that I say that. This is just an example for the class. Sé que recibiremos, we will receive $1 million. Somebody asked me, sir, do you know that Shane will buy KFC for all of us? And I say, yes, I know that he will. Sí, sé que Shane comprará KFC para nosotros. So, but in that case, I don't say conozco. I mean, I know that Shane is going to do this. I wouldn't say conozco Shane. If I say conozco Shane, I mean that I know Shane, like I know him. Point I'm trying to make. There are two verbs in Spanish that means to know, and I use them in different situations. One of those verbs is conocer, when I mean to know persons or to know places, and there is another verb that also means also means to know, but to know facts, information, gossips, etc. Now, I know the president. Look, hey, I know the president. Sé, oh my God, wait. ¿Sé al presidente o conozco al presidente? Which one? A or B?
Conozco. B.
Muy bien, Rachel. And who spoke now?
Sajeda, sir.
Yeah, because Rachel answered in the chat and Sayoda was doing it out loud. Yeah, correct. Both of you. Conozco. Because when I mean I know a person or I know places, I use the verb conocer. Now, hablar portugués. Speak Portuguese. Speak Portuguese is not a person. Speak Portuguese is not a place. So, sé or conozco.
C.
Sé. I cannot say conozco hablar portugués because last time I checked, hablar portugués was not a person, was not a place either. Mhm. Muy bien, Rachel. Eh, so guys, you have clear when to use conocer, when to use saber. Question. People or places? I know people or I know places. Conocer or saber.
Conocer.
Perfecto. Facts, information. Conocer, skills. Conocer o saber.
Saber.
Saber, saber. And I'm using conozco and I'm using sé because those are the forms for for yo. But you have to remember that in Spanish, we conjugate the verbs. When I want to use conocer, meaning to know people or places, well, that depending who I am talking about. If I am saying that I know persons or I know places, conozco, conozco. But if you want to say that you know a certain person or you know a certain place, conoces, you know. But if you are going to say that he or she knows a person or a place, conoce. Conozco, I know. Conoces, you know. Conoce, he or she knows. Now, we know, we all know whoever, a person. I thought like in 10 different um, persons right now that I'm sure you know, but for political reasons, another one for religion reasons, other for. So I didn't want to mention none. But anyhow, we all know somebody, a person, or we all know a certain place. Conocemos. Yeah, in this 21st century, you have to be really careful when you want to be how you say in English, politically correct. Yeah, so and I don't want problems. You all know somebody, conocen. They know somebody, conocen too. So I know, you know, he, she knows, we know, you all know, they know. In Spanish is conozco, conoces, conoce, conocemos, conocen, conocen. Again, question. It is very clear and in big red letters there, but let me ask you anyways to double check that you know. Conocer means to know. When I mean that I know what? People, places, information, facts, skills,
People and places.
people and places, period. Muy bien, muy bien, muy bien. Now, as I just told you, when you know information, skills, facts, even gossips, we use the verb saber, right? Saber means to know when it's not people or places, anything else, basically information or skills. And I do conjugate saber. Well, you know this verb long now. Sé means I know. Sabes, you know. Sabe, he or she knows. Sabemos, we know. Saben, you all know. And saben, they know. But this saber is different than conocer. Saber means to know, and the previous verb, conocer, means to know also, but I use conocer when I mean that I know a person or I know a place. If it's an information or skills, what you know, you would use this verb. That's why I insisted here in these slides. So I tried you to, before showing you the conjugation of both verbs, I wanted to be sure that you knew, it's a fly, that you knew the difference between conocer and saber. Question. What's the meaning of conocer and saber in English? And it's only one word, one verb. What means conocer and saber, which is the same in English?
Don't know.
To know, to know. But conocer is when I know what? Conocer. Conocer is when I know what, guys?
People or places.
People or places. And saber is when I know information, skills, facts, and so on. So any question about, good. Any question about the difference between conocer and saber? Everybody is aware that we have to know how to conjugate conocer, conozco, conoces, conoce, conocemos, conocen, conocen, or saber, sé, sabes, sabe, sabemos, saben, saben. Are you aware that you have to know how to conjugate each one of these two verbs? But last but not least, when I know a person, there's one small word that is so small that is just one letter that I cannot forget, and we call it personal E. I have to use the personal E when you say that you know a person. Let me tell you how. I know Sequoia. Simple English, I don't say more than that. I know Sequoia. So you will say, well, to know a person is what? Conocer o saber. Or to know a person is, well, what verb I have to use in this case? Conocer. Conozco Sequoia. So common sense will tell you that. But happens that Sequoia is a person, is a human being. And for some stupid reason in Spanish, when you mean that you know a person, you have to add the word a. A means two. It's like in Spanish we say, I know two Sequoia. You have to use it. If you don't use that a between conocer and the name of the person when you mean that you know a person, the sentence is not correct. Oh. Conozco Kalia. I know Kalia. A. A. B. Nothing. Which one is correct? ¿Conozco a Kalia o conozco Kalia?
Conozco a Kalia.
So, item A. Conozco a Kalia. But now, conozco conozco Berbis. ¿Conozco a Berbis o just conozco Berbis? Berbis is a person. A is only for persons. So,
Conozco Burbis.
simple like that. Conozco Berbis. So, which one will be correct? A or B?
B.
B.
B will be correct. Conozco Berbis. So, in the blank, remains blank. So, and we call that innocent small word. The word is so small, guys, that it's just one letter, a. So I have to use a when I mean that I know a person between I know, which is conozco, and the name of the person. But only for persons. Only for persons, not for places. So I told you last but not least, because that personal e or personal a, if you pronounce it in Spanish, e in English, a in Spanish, you should actually say a because it's Spanish. That personal a is something that you have to remember, but it's only for persons. So about, oh God. So about these two verbs, guys, conocer y saber, the difference between them, when I use one, when I use the other, how I conjugate them, how with conocer I have to use a when I mean that I know a person. Before the name of the person, use the letter e. All this is clear to you guys? Mm, I don't like when you don't have questions, but so be it. El pretérito de los verbos regulares, bla, 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 bla. El pretérito de los verbos regulares. That means in simple English, the simple past of regular verbs. Yeah, because we use this fancy word, pretérito. But why we don't use the word past in Spanish? We have the word past, pasado. But it happens that in Spanish, we have different types of pasts. We have this one, pretérito, but we have imperfecto. We also have the condition. Well, let me tell you the names in Spanish. It's going to be easier for me. So we have pretérito, we have copretérito, we have antecopretérito, we have antepretérito, we have postpretérito, and we have antepostpretérito. So we have different types of pasts in Spanish. That's why we cannot say, like you, simple past, because you only have the simple past. So we have different type of simple pasts. That's the reason why we use a special word for simple past in Spanish. But that's advanced grammar for those who would want to complicate their life with complicated Spanish or want to study Spanish deeper in the future. So far, you simply need to know that pretérito is how we say simple past in Spanish. When you use a simple past in English, you use a simple past to talk about things that happened in the past, actions that were completed in the past. So something that you completed in the past. Yesterday, I ate chicken curry. That happened already. So I'm not eating chicken curry. That passed. That happened already. I ate chicken curry. I spoke Chinese yesterday. So yesterday I did that. I'm not doing it today. Probably I will not do it tomorrow. I did it yesterday. It was an action that happened in the past. That's how you use the simple past in English, and that is how we use the pretérito in Spanish. Actions that happen in the past and actions that are completed also, like past and completed actions. So actions that happen in the past. Now, again, this thing about conjugating verbs in Spanish is so simple. Do this in English, because in English, you simply, and I tell you, I was really lucky. The only pain in the neck for me about English is the pronunciation, because I do think that English grammar is pretty easy. It has complications. It has quite a few exceptions, but compared to Spanish, English grammar is very easy. English pronunciation is a pain in the neck. Not to tell you in another place. But grammar is very easy. Why? When you learn verbs, you are learning English and you are learning the verb to speak, right? You simply have to learn speak for the present, spoke for the past, spoken for the perfect uh, tenses. Speak, spoke, spoken. Speak, spoke, spoken. When you learn the verb to put, 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 put. When you learn the verb stop, stop, stopped, stopped. So you simply have to learn 3 forms for each one of the verbs. And luckily, sometimes it's the same one, so you simply have to learn one. Sometimes the past and the past participle is the same, so you only have to learn 2. And unfortunately, sometimes, like in speak, you have to learn 3 because the 3 are different: present, past, and past participle. So simple is English. So the same speak. I'm going to conjugate speak in English. I spoke, you spoke, he spoke, she spoke, it spoke, we spoke, you spoke, they spoke. Spoke all the way, all the time. Is it the same in Spanish? Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, in Spanish, guys, you have to conjugate the verbs. And what means conjugate verbs? It means that you have to learn the different endings for the verbs in simple past. There is a good thing about this though. You remember that for the present, there were 6 different endings for the AR verbs, 6 different endings for the ER verbs, and 6 different endings for the IR verbs. So here is a little bit simpler. Why is a little bit simpler in the pretérito or the simple past? Because the AR verbs, well, you have to learn the 6 endings for the AR verbs. But the endings for the ER and IR verbs are the same. Exactly the same. The endings for the ER verbs and the endings for the IR verbs are the same. So, which are the endings for the ER verbs? Easteo, amos, aro. E, aste, o, amos, aro. E, aste, o, amos, aro. E, aste, o, amos, aro. And careful, because for yo, I, and he or she, él o ella, you have to write an accent. So when I say is e with an accent. When I say o is o with an accent. So e with an accent, aste, o with an accent, amos, aro. There is accent only for I, and he or she. The other forms do not have an accent. It happens the same for the ER or IR verbs endings. I, iste, io, imos, ieron. These are the endings. I, iste, io, imos, ieron. I, iste, io, imos, ieron. I, iste, io, imos, ieron. And again, like in the other set of endings for the AR verbs, the first one and the third endings have an accent. See, this E has an accent, and this io has an accent on the O. E and io have accent. The other forms do not have an accent. Which are the endings for the AR verbs in simple past? Haste, o, amos, aro. Haste, o, amos, aro. You know that the last one we put it 2 times, right? We always put the last one 2 times. Haste, o, amos, aro. And as I told you, the form for yo, I mean the ending for yo, and the ending for he or she, él o ella, both have an accent. See? You see that this E has an accent? And you see that this O has an accent? The others do not have accents. Now, which are the endings for the ER and the IR verbs? So the endings are E with an accent. When I say E in Spanish, I mean the English letter I, but we pronounce it E, right? E, iste, no accent. Io, accent in the O. Imos, ieron, 2 times. See, this is the same table. I'm doing it again. Which are the endings for the are verbs in past? Haste, o, amos, aro. Haste, o, amos, aro. I'm pronouncing it in Spanish, right? That's why when you have this letter E, I say because in Spanish we say So, haste, o, amos, aro. Which are the endings for the ER and IR verbs in simple past? Iste, io, imos, iero. And careful, guys, because these forms, the I form and the he or she form, has an accent. See how this A has an accent, how this E has an accent, how this O has an accent, and how this EO has an accent on the O. Let's theory. Let's conjugate an AR verb, the verb hablar in simple past. How I do that? The infinitive of the verb, the original verb, is hablar. I drop the ending, AR, and I copy the stem, able, HABL, 6 times. Able, 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 able. And I add the corresponding endings, which are the endings for the AR verbs. We just saw those endings. Haste, o, amos, aro. Haste, o, amos, aro. And what we have now, hablé means I spoke. Hablaste, you spoke. Habló, he or she spoke. Anybody remember what means hablo without the accent? Like HABLO, but without the accent in the O, on the O? Like yo
I
hab,
speak.
I speak. And see how important is the accent in Spanish? Because hablo without the accent means I speak. But hablo, actually the stress is different. Hablo, I'm stressing the first syllable. Yo hablo, I speak. But hablo is not the same as hablo. Hablo, hablo. So hablo without an accent is I speak. But hablo with an accent means he or she spoke. Like hablo español. I speak Spanish. Mi hermano habló chino ayer. My brother spoke Chinese yesterday. Yo hablo no accent español. I speak Spanish. Present. Mi hermano habló, spoke, accent on the O, chino, Chinese, ayer, yesterday. See the difference, guys? Hablo, I speak. Habló, he or she spoke. Yo hablo español. I speak Spanish. Mi hermano habló, spoke, habló chino ayer. No, those sound the same. Hablo, habló, hablo, habló, hablo, habló. You don't hear the difference, guys? Hablo, habló. Like, let me say that because this is something that we have in Spanish and you don't really have in English. The stressing the same word in different syllables and it changed the meaning. Let me say, dad, potato. Dad, potato. Papá, papa. Papá, papa. Papá, papa. Papa is dad. Papa is potato. I okay. Well, guys, focus on the writing so far, and I mean, if you continue studying Spanish, it's something that will come naturally to you. So these are things that you will use without thinking. But this takes practice. This takes practice, and this is just a beginner's course. So don't stress. That's why I don't want to stress you out about papa and papa, hablo, habló, o carro, caro. So I don't want to stress you out about this because I mean you will be understood even if you don't pronounce those words just as I mean as you should as a native speaker would do. So don't be stressed out about that. It's like it's what I always tell you. If I say I'm sorry, you understand. But if I say I'm sorry, you still understand. So why you stress out about rolling or not rolling the R in Spanish about papa and papa and so on? Anyhow, let's continue with this. Yeah, this is how you conjugate an AR verb in simple past. Hablé, hablaste, habló, hablamos, hablaron. So you drop the ending AR in this case, and the remaining part is hable. Hable, 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 hable. You copy 6 times, and you add the corresponding endings. Aste, o, amos, aro. So, hablé, hablé, I spoke. Hablaste, hablaste, you spoke. Habló, he or she spoke, and so on. Let's conjugate another type of verb in Spanish, in this case, an ER verb. Comer. Comer is an ER verb. The ending is ER. How I conjugate this? I drop the ending ER. What's the remaining part? The stem, come. Come, 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 come. 6 times. And I add the corresponding endings. Which are the corresponding endings for the ER verbs? Y, iste, io, imos, ieron. So, comí, I ate. Comiste, you ate. Comió, he or she ate. Comimos, we ate. Comieron, you all ate. Comieron, they ate. So how I conjugate this IR verb in simple past? Just like I just conjugate the ER verb. I drop the end in ER. I keep the remaining part, which is the stem or the root. Escrib, ESCRIB. I copy 6 times and I add the corresponding endings. Y, iste, io, imos, ieron. Escribí, I spoke. Escribiste, you spoke. Escribió, he or she spoke. Escribimos, we all spoke. Oh my God, sorry. I was I was speaking and I was thinking of some issue that I have here. And anyways, let me start back. Escribí means I wrote. Escribiste means you wrote. Escribió, he or she wrote. Escribimos, we wrote. Escribieron, you all wrote. Escribieron, they wrote. Again, like you memorize the endings for the AR, ER, or IR verbs in Spanish for the simple for the present. Now you have to learn the endings for the past. Good thing is that for the past you don't have to learn 3 set of endings. One for AR, one for ER, one for IR. Why? Because the endings for ER and IR verbs are the same. Iste, io, imos, ieron. And the endings for the AR verbs are easte, o, amos, aro. Guys, I understand that if you watch video class number 38, and now obviously you are paying attention to what I'm saying, this has been the only 2 chances where you have interacted with the simple past in Spanish. So you don't have enough practice like to use it automatically like I would use it, or like you would use it if you practice a lot. So far, what I recommend you is to memorize the endings. Try. You have 3 PowerPoints. As always, you have 3 PowerPoints on Moodle, one for vocabulary, one for grammar, and one for oral expression, with all the content that you need to know for the oral exam, for the exam, written and oral. Go to those PowerPoints and you will find the theory and you will find activities. These activities are links to the website of the book Dos Mundos. So those activities in those PowerPoints are exactly like the activities that you will see in the exam. So you are able to do all these activities and you are ready to do the exam. So far, that's the only thing that you can do. I don't expect you to use the simple past like automatically, like spontaneously now. So you will have hard times, you will have to think. So don't feel disappointed if you're gonna use the simple past automatically. I don't expect you do. So this is something that takes time. Like it took me time to say automatically I am and not I is or I are. So now I say I am automatically. I am. But it took me time. I used to say when I was learning, I is, I are, I were, because I didn't read. But it took me time and practice to say automatically I am, you are, he is, she is, I was, you were, I have done this, he has done that, and not he have done that. So it takes time. It took me time, and but eventually I I mean, I know how to use it automatically. I don't have to think. Is I are or I am? No, I use it automatically, just like you. And if you practice enough, you will be able to do it with this Spanish stuff too. But the thing is that this course is only 52 classes and online and anyhow. Any question about this class before I say quite a few things about the exam, I major names and so on? You have any question about today's class?